Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. And this is probably an overdue video at this point, sitting down with the Minswap team to have a chat about, first off, the history on Minswap, and then looking at V2, which will probably have just launched by the time this comes out, to talk about some of the changes on the protocol, some of the new features, some new deck or some new trade options, which I'm really excited to explore. And today I'm joined by Long and Adrian, or Purritto, who would probably be more popular known in the community as Purritto. Guys, you're very welcome and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Paul. Super excited to be here.
Nice. So look, I'll let you give the intros to yourselves and then we'll get into the protocol and what's changing with V2. Long, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so I'm Long. I'm the co-founder and lead engineer of Minswap. We have been building Minswap for more than 3 years, and we are going to launch with Minswap V2 with Bluetooth V2 and many new features.
Nice. And Purritto? I'm used to calling you Purritto, so I'm going to stick with Purritto.
Sure, yeah. Oh, it all works. So I've been in Cardano also for about 3 years. It's how I got started in crypto. I was first a volunteer. So I would go to projects and I would ask them, hey, how can I contribute? Can I do some proofreading or translating your white papers? So pretty much all the Cardano DeFi projects I helped like way back, way before they launched. And yeah, my favorite project by then was Minswap. I really like the team. I like their very community approach. So as I got more and more involved, eventually, yeah, I asked them if I could join officially as a team member. And what I've been doing is leading the growth team. And what we do there is everything that has to do with incentives, also tokenomics, partnerships, managing the community. And yeah, now getting ready for Minswap V2 launch. We've been coordinating with all the big major Cardano projects, defining different features, also writing about them in different articles. So super excited about the launch.
Nice. Yeah, we might get on to some of that towards the end of this, the growth and looking at the token and how things have changed. I've definitely seen some changes and more use cases coming into that over the last maybe 6 to 12 months. But for people who mightn't have seen Minswap, who can give me the high level story of Minswap, where it came from, how it got to today, and then we'll look at V2 then and go a bit more in depth into what's changing with V2.
Yeah, so we started off as a Catalyst proposal, and then we have a lot of early development with Bluetooth. Um, we did raise and then we launched on mainnet on March 2022. And after that, we launched many new features. We launched youth farming, the launch flow, and governance. And after Bluetooth V2 released, we started to working on the Minswap V2, and we started researching and adding many new features, which I will describe later. After the development of V2, we did a double audit, and then we did a bug bounty that lasted for 1 month, and V2 is very close to launch.
Yeah, for anyone not familiar, Minswap is an AMM DEX. So there is an order book side to it, but primarily AMM. And what's coming in V2? What's going to be new for V2?
Yeah, so I think the biggest feature is the improvement on the speed. So by a combination of using Bluetooth V2 and ICANN and a bunch of optimization, we increase the average throughput to 10 times than the V1. So on V1, the average throughput is 3 orders per batch, but on V2, the throughput is around 30 orders per batch. And in case of congestion, we can permit to the maximum throughput of 36 orders per batch. So it's around 10 times more than V1. I think that's the most significant, new feature. And second is advanced order type. So we add a lot of new order type into the smart contract. We have in V1 we have the swap, deposit, withdraw, and zap in. In V2 we added a different kind of swap like stop order for stop loss and stop entry. We added OCO order, partial fill, added the expiry time for order and the fill kill order and zap out, deposit and withdraw with arbitrary ratio. So it's around 9 to 10 new order types, and there are like many combination. Like every order you are able to specify that the order will, like normally in V1 when an order is out of slippage range it became a limit order, right? But in V2 you can train that you can put a switch, and then when the order is out of slippage it will automatically return back to the owner wallet.
Yeah, I think I think that's something that caught people out when they come into trading on Cardano first. If they're used to trading on other ecosystems with Cardano, if you submit a market order and it can't be fulfilled, then it doesn't just fail. The order doesn't fail. It actually sits there as in the order book and waits for the market to come back to it. So I think that's a nice addition, that the order can automatically be cancelled and the funds returned if it doesn't get executed. We look at fast moving markets, and sometimes you can't get in time, so you can just have the funds returned directly to you. Another one I really like is the OCO orders, so one cancels the other. That really allows people to set their risk tolerance. So what, for anyone who doesn't know what it is, basically you can set a take profit and a stop loss in the same order. So it means that you can limit your downside risk, but also try and maximize where you're going to take profit at, which are really good features. Obviously, most people looking at it first will like the speed increases for Minswap in times of high load. It means that more orders can be processed per block, so there isn't that big backlog there, which makes people sometimes have to wait. But Purritto, looking at it, what's your favorite features out of V2 or from your perspective?
Yeah, great question, because we have so many. So I would highlight one that Long didn't mention is the auto routing. So basically, there is an algorithm that we've implemented that will select the best route for a trade. And because Minswap actually, it's different smart contracts. We will have the Minswap V1, Minswap V2, the stable swap, and maybe even more if they get Catalyst funded. We are doing a smart token DEX as well. So, but when you're trading on the Minswap UI, you won't notice all these different smart contracts. It will automatically select the best route. So, for example, if a token has both liquidity on Minswap V1 and V2, and you want to swap, it may use both of the liquidity pools as well. Or for example, if a token has only liquidity with a certain pair like ADA and JET, but you want to trade from a token to JET, what it will do is automatically change from that token to ADA and then ADA to JET. So you don't have to do that manually, and it's the cheapest route. So that's something I'm excited about, auto routing. And then we also have a big change coming to the fees, how fees are managed. Because on Minswap V1, we only had one option of 0.3% fees. But we know from the research that that's not the most optimal. For example, in traditional market making, they'll give you a spread, and the spread also changes. So they are way more efficient at managing fees than a DEX where it's a set number and everyone pays the same for every swap. But that's not how markets work. You should be able to adapt to the different volatility on markets. For example, if there's a hype launch and everybody wants to be trading, perhaps that's a good moment to increase the fees and make more profits for the liquidity providers. So that's something that's very exciting as well.
Yeah, just on there's two things. I want to come back to the order routing, but on the fees, just to be clear for people, that's on the liquidity pools. That isn't the fee that Minswap is charging for batcher fees or anything. This is where, and can that be set automatically to go up and down in times of high volatility, or does it have to be manually adjusted?
Yes, so we have made a ton of research. There are actually two Minswap community members. I'll shout them out. Marco and Elder. And basically they went and did a ton of research. They looked at all the different dexes, what they've done here, and they came up with their own formula for dynamic fees that, for example, try to balance the impermanent loss that liquidity providers have, and also tries to include volatility. And so if you have this fee, it will be automatic. Liquidity providers can approve it to implement this dynamic fee. And we can have different formulas too, but so far we've designed one that we think is pretty special. And yeah, so it will be all automatic. This fee will implement itself. So when there's high volatility, the fees will automatically increase. And in normal times, it will be a more standard fee.
That's good. It should lessen the risk for people providing liquidity, so encourage more people to get involved if the potential impermanent loss is less than. And just on the order routing then, so that's something I think is a great addition to have. We see it in other ecosystems. Sunday also put it in recently. But I think for people trading on Cardano right now, the most liquid pairs are generally against ADA, but not everybody likes to trade that way. You want to trade, if you look at other ecosystems, trade your volatile token against a stablecoin, and hopefully we're going to see the stablecoin volumes or the stablecoin liquidity increase to help this. But how does that work then? So you have two different pools. So let's say I want to trade Min against USDM, but the biggest liquidity is ADA against Min. So when I'm going in first, I want to trade my ADA to US or my Min to USDM. Does that happen in two trades? So first, the ADA is swapped to USDM and then swapped to Min, or how does that work?
It's an atomic swap. So when you do a multi-pool routing, the two pools they will be included in the transaction. So the multi-pool swap, it will be executed or it will be NQ. So there's no situation where it will be executed halfly and then it got out slippage on the other half.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not a case where I could be left with only one route being completed and I'm left with the other token, is it?
Yeah, it's not possible because our multi-routing swap is atomic, so it can be swapped or it can be left there until it waited for the pool to be to have like available for swapping. And once two pool are both available for swapping, like one is get to the position in the queue, then the two pool will be used in one transaction to execute the swap.
Okay, it's a really good feature. And is there one or two batcher fees in that? If it's happening in one transaction, is it just one batcher fee then, or is there two when it's including the two pools?
I think the batcher fee in this way can be configurable. Usually, like the batcher fee can be a little bit less because like well, in the same transaction, but it will be definitely more batcher fee than a single swap because the logic on because you need to execute the logic on two pools. Right? So I will check that with our smart contract team.
Okay. Yeah, look, I suppose it's only going to do it if it is the more profitable trade anyway. So the fees, it's still going to come out more profitable for someone than if they were trying to execute on a pool that is less liquid than doing that round trip. So in terms of migration, so for people that might be familiar with V1 and V2, anybody who has liquidity in V1 pools, you will have to manually move that across yourselves, but you guys have processes in place. The reason that has to happen is because of security, and it's the way it should happen. You as the owner are the only one that can actually move them funds or execute on them. But how will this process work for people who are moving from V1 to V2? And I know there's incentives on that too with the farming.
So we will have two methods for migrating the liquidity. The first one is more automatic, but it involves a little bit of time, a short time where the funds are in custody of Minswap Labs. So you approve everything, it's way quicker and easier. But between transition, there is that moment where those funds are in custody, and then so they are removed the liquidity, and then it gets added to the Minswap V2, and then you receive the LP tokens from Minswap V2. but you can also just do it yourself manually. You remove the liquidity and then you go to Minswap V2 and you add it yourself. So you can choose which one you want. Of course, the automatic one is way easier. Just on the UI, click approve, approve. And the manual one is a bit slower. So it depends a bit on your risk tolerance and yeah, what you want to do with your funds.
Okay, so in simple, it could be one transaction for the end user or two if they want to make sure they pull it out themselves, hold custody, and put it back in. And just on the yield farming as well, to try and incentivize, because obviously you want as much liquidity moving over to V2 as possible because it's more optimal. It's going to perform better in V2. So just on yield farming, do you want to highlight the changes that will happen there?
Sure. So it will be the first 2 weeks where the farming are distributed between Minswap V1 and V2 according to TVL of the pool, right? So if most of the liquidity from a certain pair, let's say ADA, Min, is still in V1, then they will be receiving most of the rewards. If it moves, some of it moves to V2, it will be both. So it's proportional to the TVL how the rewards are allocated for the first 2 weeks. But then it will be 50% off in the Minswap V1. So that way you'll be getting twice as much rewards for the Minswap V2 people who are providing liquidity and farming. That's our way of trying to incentivize slowly people to move from V1 to V2 without punishing too much those who may be taking a bit more time to move the funds. And then after 4 weeks, it will be completely only farming rewards for Minswap V2 because we think it's the better smart contract. It's been audited twice. It's much faster, so we want to incentivize it the most. And then there's also another incentive, and maybe you haven't seen it. It's we will have a huge discount on battery fees for the first 3 months of Minswap V2. It will be 50% discount. So instead of 2 ADA, it will be 1 ADA. And that's our way also to incentivize the traders to use Minswap V2 because it will be a huge reduction in fees. And I think hopefully a lot of volume gets routed through Minswap V2 that way.
Yeah, the fees definitely make a difference. I know when we were doing the algo for Ada Markets, the aggregator, and it even that small little change in fees can be the difference in a lot of the smaller trades being routed through certain dexes based on the fee can make a big difference. But just when we talked about there the different ways to move liquidity, it's probably a good time to talk about the security and audits for what's the latest stage on the audits for V2 or how have they went?
Yeah, so we did two audits. Two audits for Minswap V2, one with Anastasia Lab and one with Certic, and they found a few issues, and we have fixed them, and we did a bug bounty for 2 months, and in the bug bounty we find um, one medium level issue and one low level issue, and we have also fixed them. So our launch process is going to be as secure as it can be.
Okay, so you're in a good status for security wise, and Anastasia Labs. People on the channel here are probably familiar with Phil. He's been on a few times lately talking about scaling and different aspects. And every time he comes on, I get a bit more bullish on what Cardano can do on that scaling side. But so on the liquidity, Minswap are a bit unique in the amount of protocol owned liquidity that you guys have. I presume ye will move that over to V2. And are there any future plans for that or getting more protocol owned liquidity or what's the plans there?
Yeah, I think that's a huge aspect of Minswap that differentiate us from other decks, not only on Cardano, but probably from all other chains. Like I remember one time seeing that the Min token has almost as much on-chain liquidity as the Uni token from Uniswap. And yeah, the market cap difference is pretty big, but still, it's a great thing to have such a liquid token. And the plans for POL right now, actually, as part of the Minswap V2 launch, we have a proposal where we are changing some parameters. And one of them is the fee on the Min ADA pool. So actually, we will have a 1% sell fee and a 0.3% buy fee. So that's a change. We are increasing 3 times more the sell fee, and the buy fee remains the same. And we try that way to prevent a little bit of the sell pressure coming from the yield farming. So yeah, that's one of the changes, and hopefully that the protocol on liquidity increases more the profits. And the other change is we're increasing the fee switch for the min ADA pool. So normally out of the trades, 1/6 of the trading fee, the one that was 0.3% in Minswap V1 and will be 1% for selling in V2, 1/6 of that goes to the min stakers. But now for the min ADA pool, it will be 2/6, so it will be twice as much. That's another change. And yeah, regarding managing the treasury and so on, we have different initiatives. We have one initiative where the treasury, we take ADA and we mint USDM, usually every month. It depends a bit on when that decision is taken. And yeah, regarding POL, that's the aim, basically try to optimize a bit more for the fees, make more profits for the mint stakers and for the DAO as well.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely, I see some projects with some POL, but not to the level that you guys have, and I suppose that can always increase if projects go through the launch pool that you guys have, because you get a small portion through that as well, don't you?
Yes, that's one of the big modes that we are trying to change for the min stakers. We want more people to stake min. We think it's great for the platform. We have already a ton of liquidity, right? So if the min ADA liquidity providers change and stake min, I think that's good for the protocol. It depends. We need a balance, but right now there's a bit more of the liquidity providers that perhaps is better if they would be staking. So one of the modes we are trying to do is for min stakers to get launch ball tokens. So hopefully soon, if there's lots of more projects launching, the min stakers will be getting lots of tokens. Like it already happened with the Smart Places launch ball, where the min stakers got, I think it was 1% of the, or 0.5% of the total supply of the SPTX token. So that was a big payout.
Okay, I suppose that's good both ways. It increases the distribution of the tokens, and obviously it's good for Minswap or Min token holders because they get free tokens essentially for staking. But on that, then the Min token, can you give the overview of what is the utility of it? We've touched on a bit of it there about staking and what they can get from it. We mentioned governance, but can you give the summary of the utility for Min?
Okay, you want to take it?
Yeah, I think it's better. No, I mean, sure.
Okay. The main token, I think we have a lot of utility. I think the most exciting one is receiving protocol revenue, protocol profit. So the profit of the protocol from trading, from launching projects, they are going to the main staker. And the second utility is governance and voting. Voting um, for different decision making of the DAO and the protocol, and also voting for how the Minswap ADA is going to be used to vote on Catalyst. So if you want to sway the Minswap ADA to vote on certain proposal on Catalyst, you can use your Min to vote on your favorite proposal, and then at the end, if that proposal is the top 20 or 30, depending on the proposal, it will be going to be voted by the Minswap ADA, which is 76 million ADA. And the third utility is batch fee discount. So before, if you have 50,000 min, it will get 25% discount of batch fee, which is 0.5 ADA. And now we have a batch fee discount for 3 months after launching. So normally you need to pay 1 ADA batch fee, but if you got 50,000 min, then you only need to pay 0.75 ADA for a batch fee.
Okay, that's a nice incentive for people who are going to be putting in a lot of trades. Them 0.25s will add up over time. And we've seen the DEX competition on Cardano really increase over the last while. Minswap has been by far the most dominant DEX over the last 12 months, really, in terms of volume and traders. How do you see that going forward, and how can Minswap maintain their number one spot? I presume you believe they will maintain it.
Maybe we can both answer this one. I can take it first if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so Minswap, we focus a lot on incentives and how we distribute the mint to farmers. I think it's very optimized. That distinguishes us a lot from other dexes who, for example, they might try to do it through a governance, but if you let the token holders perhaps decide where the farming rewards would go, they might be a bit biased, right? They might not be thinking about allocating to the most volume generating pools, rather to the pools where maybe they own the tokens. So that's one of the main differences. The other differences are in the Minswap V2 capabilities. So we try really to focus on traders to make the trading much easier, and we have, I think, better functionality when it comes to the different order types. Also in terms of the UI, how it is displayed, I think the UI team has done a great job. And the second is the liquidity providers. So everything that we mentioned about the different fees and the dynamic fees, we try to make the LP providing experience much better, because that's liquidity providers are the heart of the DEX. So we've talked to many projects already on Cardano, and because on Cardano most of the projects manage their own liquidity, and they want to be increasing their fees for Minswap V2. So for example, if a project had a 0.3% fee, now they might want to do 0.6 or 0.8, and that means like the Minswap liquidity providers will be gaining much more in trading fees, and also the mint stakers will be gaining more because they're still getting 1/6 of the fee, but if the fee increases 2 or 3 times more, so will what the mint stakers get. So it's a bit a focus on the mint token as a token that gets real revenue and increased now with the different fees. A focus also on the liquidity providers and the traders. And also, yeah, we will keep the community approach. That's really helped us. We have a huge community. For example, dynamic fees, the formula we've designed wouldn't have been possible without them. So yeah, that's why I think we will continue to be dominant.
Anything to add on to that, Long?
I think Purritto has touched on most of the topics. I think the Minswap V2 is the most feature-rich DEX in Cardano right now. We didn't try to launch quickly. In the beginning, it's estimated to launch at the end of last year. But like we keep adding more feature. We listen to the community. We listen to the volunteer, to the working group, and we try to polish the feature of the smart contract more and more. And we also polish the UI UX more and more. And we try to launch in the most secure way possible, which is double audit and bug bounty. So we didn't rush the launch. And now I think the Minswap V2 contract is one of the most feature-rich contract, and we have like it also have the extensibility capability, so we can add more all the time in the future like DCA or something. We also have exciting new feature on the app layer. We'll announce it later. But anyway, I think not only on how our product has many features, but like on how our team is operated and executed is also a real advantage, because our team is operated in a closed loop, feedback with the community, the user, and the volunteers, the DAO volunteers. And we keep listening to the user, our user in our community, and we keep integrating and incorporating the good feedbacks into our product to make it the most usable one.
Great. And just actually, I was thinking there on one feature that I don't think we touched on was with the limit orders, you will now have partial fills. We've seen a bit of a split in the community with some people really pushing for order book dexes. Minswap now with partial fills can, I suppose, fulfill both? Or where do you see most liquidity going in the future? Will it be staying with AMM dexes when you can bring in dynamic fees that, I suppose, mitigate some of the impermanent loss, or will people keep moving towards order books?
Okay, so we don't have order book. The partial fill is a partial fill of the AMM, and I can explain it further. So normally, when you set a limit order, the limit, like our users encounter this problem many times in the past, is that the limit order, the price, sometimes the pool hit the price, but the limit order isn't executed because the liquidity at that price, there isn't enough liquidity at that price to fill 100% of the order. So many times user ask you a question like why my limit order isn't filled because like the limit order is too big and the price of the pool, like the liquidity at that price is too small. And what the partial fill order solve is that with partial fill order, whenever the pool hits the limit price, the order can be filled with as much liquidity in the pool at that price as it can have. So the order can be keep filling until it's full, like it can be filled to 50%. So when user execute a large limit order on the pool, like if the limit order is large, the size large relatively to the pool, the order can still be filled and not be like unfulfilled like in the past if you want.
Okay, and just on that, if it partially fills, is that amount sent back to me in a transaction and the rest sits waiting in another limit, or does it wait until it's fully filled?
I think the amount will remain in the order, but like you can claim the amount anytime.
Okay, I suppose it's not officially an order book DEX, but it
Uh,
fulfills a lot of the same functionality as the order book because you have your limit orders.
yeah,
Purritto, you were going to say something?
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Like it's a
Uh,
okay.
what?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, so I think that Cardano is very well designed for order book. As you mentioned before, like when a swap didn't go through, it will still remain on chain as sort of a limit order, right? Um, But the thing is, like DeFi right now is not very well designed for order books because there aren't many active market makers. Probably it will not be profitable for them because they would have to pay a lot of fees from the layer one. So that's why you see in pretty much all other layer ones, the dominant DEX model is the AMM. I think will continue to be that way because it's just the easiest way to provide liquidity, and usually it's the projects that provide it themselves, and for traders to trade there it's the easiest to do on chain without much liquidity and volume. But as you mentioned, on Cardano order books are pretty easily on EVM. It takes them very long time to implement something like limit orders, but on Cardano it's pretty much baked into the layer one how you can do that. So I think we will continue to see this AMM dominance, but with more and more like order book type of features, like these advanced orders that we're doing. OCO orders are gonna be great as well, and so on.
Okay, yeah. So it was, you can kind of get the best of both. You have the AMM that brings liquidity and brings the price up and down to the limit orders, so people can set their limit if they want. And it was OCO, which we mentioned earlier, as a feature I really like, that takes advantage of limit orders and stop losses. So just to close it out, we touched on Catalyst a few times. You guys have some proposals in it. Do you want to give the high level of what they are, and then any closing thoughts from yourselves?
I mean, you can take the labs ones and I'll do the other ones.
Yeah, but what is the question?
What's that? The Catalyst proposals? Do you just want to give the high level of what they are, or just list them off?
Yeah, so we have six catalyst proposal. So the first one is a SDK, the SDK for stable swap and Minswap V2 and LB V2. So basically, we are making the function to build the transaction and to query the data publicly. So other people, other parties, other projects, they can build the integration with Minswap and they can build their own app on top of Minswap. so we can have like a bigger ecosystem of the app and integrations. Second is iOS app. So the iOS app we have bring a native experience to the iPhone users, so they can use Minswap. They can use Minswap app directly from the Apple Store and have native experience. And I think Adrian can talk more about other proposals.
Yeah, then there is another proposal from Minswap Labs together with Fluid Tokens that you probably have had in the channel as well. And what we want to do, I mentioned it briefly, is a smart token DEX. So basically, there is a new CIP that is being done by Michele from Harmonic Labs. It's called CIP 113, and it tries to enable what he calls smart tokens. And these are tokens with different capabilities, a bit more like the ERC20 tokens that you can program. And yeah, so these tokens would bring lots of new utilities, for example, for real world assets. Like if you want to tokenize stocks or diamonds or commodities, things like that, you would have to do it through a smart token because of the capabilities that those enable, that they can be automated and so on. And we want to try to build a DEX for those tokens together with fluid tokens. So we have a proposal for that. Those three, the two that Long mentioned and this one, are for Minswap Labs. And then there are also 3 proposals from a group of Minswap volunteers that got together and they thought, hey, we really need to grow Cardano DeFi. Like we can increase much more the metrics and make the ecosystem more lively in a organic way. So they have 3 different branches to do that. The first one is education, where we are partnering with different educators, mostly Pete, and he will be doing a guide for Minswap, Minswap V2. I think we lack some of the more educational resources on Cardano, and especially now that these new DEXs are launching, like Minswap V2, all this content should be updated. Then the second one is an incentive program. So this could be pretty exciting because we've seen other chains launch these type of programs and they work very well to get some attention from the wider crypto users. And for example, we also have a lot of what they call dormant ADA on Cardano, which is holders that they are just staking, but they don't really use DeFi. Now, if we can give them lots of incentives in the form of ADA, perhaps, maybe we can mobilize some of that ADA, and maybe we can mobilize some other crypto users from other ecosystems to come to Cardano and use DeFi here. So that's the aim of the incentive program. And then there's the marketing one. I don't know how many times I've seen on Twitter, like Cardano lacks marketing. Cardano should do more marketing. Actually, it shouldn't be Cardano. It should be the Cardano projects that we should be marketing more ourselves, and Cardano too. It doesn't have to be always one of the 3 founding entities. So what we're trying to do here is basically get 100,000 ADA from the Catalyst proposal and use that to contact different KOLs from different chains, cross-chain KOLs, and also focus on the ones in Japan for Cardano, because that's where most of the dormant ADA is. And yeah, we try to do threads, more content to try to get them to use DeFi, because there's a big knowledge gap both between the people from cross-chain that many times they've asked me at conferences, like, does Cardano have DeFi or DEXs? And also, yeah, from the dormant ADA holders in Japan that maybe they don't have as many resources. So basically, we try to cover those 2 areas with educational material, mostly on Twitter.
Yeah, I think they're good areas to look at, the education around how people can do it, and then giving them the incentive to actually go and do it as well. Give them that bit extra on top, rather than we look at ADA staking rewards. They're mostly down below 3% APY now. It was well over 5% when I started staking a few years ago. So now it's getting to the stage where people are like, well, maybe if I can get that 10% on something else, or I can go in and start trading, then there's more incentive for people to do it now, rather than sitting with just the staking rewards. And even splitting up percentages of your portfolio is good. So look, thanks very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. V2 looks really, really good. Looking forward to diving into it, putting out a few tutorials around that too. What, any closing thoughts on it or anything like that? And look, we can catch up again in another few months to see how the launches went and how things are progressing.
Yeah, thank you for having us. So keep an eye on Minswap social media. V2 maybe it's coming after V2 launch. Okay, so if it's coming after V2 launch, then if you are a project, then should migrate liquidity to Minswap V2 as soon as possible. And if you are a trader, then try to leverage the new order type in V2.
Great. And actually, that just brings up one thing. On the fee on pools on V2, who sets that? Is it the person with the most liquidity sets that fee, or is it because someone could get in before the project to move their liquidity? But who actually sets the fee, or can it be changed later?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, we've dealt with that. We explained how we deal with that in the recent governance proposal, but that's why we, Minswap Labs, we are reaching out to all the Cardano projects that have big pools, and we're asking them, what fee do you want? What strategy do you want? Do you want to do a little bit of a higher fee? Maybe if you have most of your liquidity in one DEX, that's actually a good thing because you can increase fees and all the traffic will go through that liquidity pool anyhow. So we've contacted all the projects and most of them will be increasing their fees. I think that's a good thing for Minswap and for the ecosystem as well. And yeah, we will be seeding those pools ourselves, setting those fees ourselves, just to avoid any kind of malicious actor to take some liquidity pool from a prominent project and try to put a very high fee, because yeah, that could be possible. So that's how we will avoid it. But then afterwards, anyone who starts the pool can put the fee that they want between 0.05% and 20%. But we will have what we call the liquidity provider governance dashboard. So basically how fees will be managed in Minswap V2 is the liquidity providers have the say about the fees. So they'll be able to change it through different votes. If they want to increase it, they can do it. If they want to decrease it, so it will be liquidity providers that decide on that.
Okay, that's good. So I suppose even if a project misses out being the first one to create it in time, if they put the most liquidity in, then they will have the biggest say. Purritto, I'll leave final thoughts to yourself then as well.
No, thanks a lot for having me. Yeah, it's been a long time due. Stay in tuned with the Minswap Twitter. I hope that you enjoy Minswap V2 and give us lots of feedback. I remember when we launched V1, what surprised people the most was not the V1 itself or the launch, but like right after we were doing so many iterative improvements. Like we had a feature request and it would be implemented in a week or two. So we hope that you can give us more hints and things that we can implement, and we will do pretty quick iterative improvements on that.
Great, yeah, and look, we might connect up and do a podcast on DeFi at some point, maybe in the next few weeks, looking at Cardano in general and DeFi that's there, of all the available options and how it's progressed. It's one I'd be interested in, and hopefully people watching would. If you're watching, please do share this out. Let people know what's there for V2. Hit subscribe if you're not. Ask questions down below and join the socials for the Minswap team to get in, ask questions, and make suggestions for new features that Purritto is going to get out in a week or two after that then. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers for your time, guys.